Hey folks, hope you're doing well out there. My name's Sandy. This is Sawing with Sandy, and as you can see behind me, I'm surrounded by tarps. Now I'm underneath my saw shed, but I now have tarps up, and these are sort of a temporary fix for the time being, but I wanted to show you them before I get underway here. I put up tarps because I was getting a bit sick of having snow blow in sideways and cover my saw shed floor. And now that I have this thing here behind me, surprise, surprise, it made it here without issue. Because I've got this thing here, I don't want to be blowing off copious amounts of snow every single day. Now, I don't have the saw shed entirely finished. As you can see up there, the gable ends are still exposed. I still don't have full roofing steel on the ridge, but it's keeping the majority of the snow out, and that's why I've got the tarps up. Now, if you look up there, all we've got is a steel cable that runs the perimeter. We got some zip ties holding the tarp up there, and I can move them left and right as needed. I've got those tarps up everywhere here. Last night was one of the first real snowstorms with them up, and I'd say it did a pretty good job. The floor is still pretty clear here. A little bit of residual that blows in the ends because the tarp doesn't go right to the ground, but I think this will serve its purpose. Now, one of the reasons I don't have wood up on the walls yet is I don't have the wood cut, and I also want to cut with this thing a little bit, the sawmill that is, just to see where I'm going to be putting stuff before I start putting up permanent walls. I'll figure out the layout. Once that layout is dialed in, then I can start to put walls where I don't need it open anymore, and that'll help me moving forward. Now, in terms of the tarp and securement, I'm just using bungee cords here, just wrapping them around the posts. I threw down a ladder here just to hold the bottom from whipping in and out. I might put a piece of wood there eventually, or put anchors in the ground if these tarps stay there long term. I'm not too sure, but at this point they served their purpose, and I'd say they did a pretty good job. I'm also using these things, which work out quite well. Just some little bungees there with the end on them. And over there you can see I just put a ladder down. A little bit of snow, but no big deal. This thing, if you're wondering what on earth this thing is, this is my brand new sawmill. It just made its way out here. I dragged it out here with the tractor, the Coyote, and that Coyote certainly impressed me. This thing is not a lightweight. I think we're somewhere around the 8,700 or 8,900 pound mark. The Coyote made its way out here with this in tow, and it didn't do it without too much issue. That was the best thing. A little bit of dragging on the high snowbanks here and there, but other than that, we made our way through the narrow trails, got ourselves out here. I just put it up on some wood there just to level things out. I put the jacks down, and that's really about it. And so today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up that diesel for the first time here, and then we're going to go through some of the operation. I've never gone through that out here before, and so we'll see how that works. We'll start by dropping the log loaders down. I just pulled the pin out a minute ago and put it there. We'll drop the log loaders down. I'll raise the head, lower the head, cycle it back and forth, and we'll go from there. Also, up this way, if you haven't seen it before, maybe you saw my previous video where I was at the factory showing you this, but maybe you didn't see this out like that. This is what it looks like. There's our 2 5/16 inch ball, and that goes back in with this pin when I need it to, so I can walk down there. So that's what we're going to do here today. Glad you're all here to join me. Here we go. All right, I got the diesel in there. I don't quite have it full. I'm maybe 3/4 of the way up. I'm not quite sure the capacity on that. I'll let you know in a future video. Other things I'm going to do here. I mentioned I already took the pin out of the one log loading arm here. Well, I put one back in just to show you where it normally goes. So when I'm getting ready to put this into operation, I'm going to pull that pin out like so. And then there's actually a spot right there, and I put the pin back in. Probably easier with two hands. And then the same thing on the other side. There's a little spot you can put the pin, which is what I've got already right there. So typically this control, which turns on the engine, this saw head would be way back here. And so when I'm done sawing for the day, I just leave the saw back here. So when I come back to the operator station, I just open up that little case, which will be right here, and then I can start the engine, and away I go. Just to give you an overview of what we're going to be looking at once things are underway. I've got an emergency stop there if necessary, and then all my hydraulic controls are right here. Now these are all direct action hydraulic controls, so basically what that means, there's a hydraulic pump on the side of the engine that's going to move some hydraulic fluid, moves through all the hoses. As you can see, there's no shortage of them. And some of the hoses come on this side, some of the hoses go on that side up the energy chain. And if you look underneath here, you see that they get divided depending on their purpose underneath here. And we'll dive under even further so we can get an even better look. Right? So the hydraulic fluid gets moving, and then the direct action hydraulics are the valves here, which you can open and close, and then that sends the hydraulic fluid to whatever cylinder that you need to operate your equipment. Obviously there's a cylinder here, one there, and then there's often motors as well. You can see a hydraulic motor there, cylinder here, motor here, etc., etc. In terms of electric things, we're looking at the lasers. Those will be 12 volt electric. Other things, there is an electrically actuated blade lube thing, we'll call it there. I don't know the actual term. Actuator? I don't know. That's the other thing. Other electric things right here. So we're looking at the Micron Setworks. But besides that, that is the electric parts to this unit. Down here, we've got flow control. And so I can determine how much speed I've got going. And so I can turn it way down, which I will do, especially when I'm starting out. And as I get better, I can open that up, increase the flow of hydraulic fluid, and then this thing can go faster. These chains here, as you'll see in a minute, that's what's going to allow it to go backwards and forwards. And then the chains you see vertically there, these ones here. And on the other side, those are the ones that allow the blade to travel up and down. There's no blade on this right now. I do have blades in the box over there. I'll put one on at some point. These take 2-inch blades, 18 foot 7-inch long, 2-inch blade, 2.5-inch guide roller here. And then this can obviously go in and out. That's hydraulically controlled as well. You dive over here, you can see that hydraulic motor. On the back here, you can see the belt. The belt makes its way up there to the engine. And there's a clutch up there. To engage that clutch, as I mentioned, it's going to be that black lever right there. There's our battery. And this cable here, that's what's actually doing the measuring for that Micron Setworks. At the front, as I said, hydraulic tank. There's some magnets, so when I open this up, you can see what's going on. And we'll just dive in there real quick. That magnet's a beautiful thing. There's our band wheels. So these are 26-inch. You'll notice there's no belt on these, so the blade rides right on the steel. And we have our double tapered bearings here, and these are on both sides. So there's one here and one back there. You can see our shaft. Everything rides on. There's our blade lubrication, so that'll come down there. Drag back board drag back fingers, debarker, log turner, log stops, toe end board. Yeah, that's basically it. So let's put this down, and then we'll head over. We'll fire things up here. And just while I remember, that's where you put the blade lube in, the diesel. And then that gets housed up in here for when it comes down there. I think I've got everything covered. Looking up top there, there's the engine. It's a beautiful thing as well. I haven't had a brand new diesel engine like this before. I just got done checking the engine oil just to make sure. Melvin assured me everything's ready to go though, and it is. And so I think the next thing we're going to do is fire it up. Oh my goodness, I'm not sure what's choking me up here. It's probably the cold weather mixed in with excitement. That is mind-blowing right there. Now, I have not run a hydraulic sawmill for any length of time aside from what you just saw there. And so getting that thing working, fired up in the cold, having it perform exactly as I had hoped, is one of those feelings. I don't know if I'll get over this moment right at this time. It's certainly exciting. I am just envisioning the speed I'm going to be cutting wood at, and I'm not lifting a finger. I'm sitting back here at the controls. The hardest part for me is just figuring out what control does what. Very smooth, lots of good stuff going on. I am super excited to share this with you because I've got a lot to learn, but it's going to be a fun one. Well, folks, what do I say? You saw exactly what I just saw. That was amazing. I'm not used to that type of control, especially on something this big. That's, I think, the most impressive thing. This is a big piece of equipment. It's heavy, it's solid, it's hydraulically driven, but I have a lot of precision, a lot of control with the levers there. You saw with all of those movements, I was able to go fast and slow. I think what it's going to come down to is just me learning the controls, and that'll help me make myself smoother. But overall, everything is working exactly as I had hoped, and I am super impressed. Now, there's going to be a few things to dial in, like the speed of the debarker there, but that's completely possible with the needle valve on the side. I just haven't quite got there. But overall, I'm super excited to see what this is going to make for lumber, because I have a feeling my production rate is going to be astronomical, and I'm going to be cutting logs like I've never cut logs before. Now, there's a few things here you may have noticed, or maybe you didn't notice, that I didn't do. When I put the log loader down, there's actually this little support that goes back there. I haven't quite done that yet. Aside from that, this is exactly what the setup's going to be. I think the only thing I might end up doing is maybe I'll put a little stool there and get real comfy, and I don't know, maybe a bit of a sludge holder. Although Melvin down at Clarke Sawmills really came up with the perfect spot for my sludge cup right up top there. Maybe I'll put a little hoop so it doesn't fall out. Now, learning the controls, as I said, that's going to be a bit of a challenge for me, but it's very intuitive. It seems like what you want it to do is where it should be. On the right, that's where I'm going to be using the forward reverse controls, and then up top here, that's for actually clamping the logs. The other ones here, I may have to look down for the first while to get used to where it is, but eventually muscle memory will kick in and I'll be able to just continue looking at the log, reach down and do the movement. Now, one thing I didn't do up here, I haven't used the setworks yet. That's going to be for another day. I'm going to make sure that I'm well versed in that before I start pushing buttons. Once that gets going, I'm sure that'll make things even more fun. Now, one thing that Melvin did down at Clarke Sawmill, as I mentioned, was he put in a valve here that it's like a joystick, essentially. It's still direct hydraulic, but it's a joystick that allows me to have fast forward, regular speed forward, and then fast reverse and regular speed reverse. I'm not sure if you noticed there, but I was able to scoot down the sawmill, and let's just imagine we were doing that. So that's fast forward, but as I got close to the end, or wherever I was near the end of the log, I could bump back to forward before I stop it. So you don't have to do that fast forward to stop. You can bump down to the regular forward speed, slow it down gradually, which was nice. Some other things I noticed, these things are kind of neat. I've never used them before, and so that's going to be something that really allows me to center the pith on a log and allow me to move those logs into the center portion right directly over a bunk without lifting a finger. Work very well. They're independently controlled, so that'll allow for real great motion there. The other thing I noticed is this has a lot of motion, the log loader. That thing can go nearly vertical. Obviously it's flat right now, but nearly vertical, as you saw. And because it's bi-directional, if for whatever reason I need to reverse the turn, I can do just that. Log stops, they go up perfectly at the same stop, at the same time, same height. I can finesse that control, which was nice. And these guys, they feel solid even at the control end, so I'm gonna see what those things can do once we get some lumber cut before too long. This was nice as well. I don't have to come out from the controls to reduce the opening size between the guide rollers. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's certainly overwhelming at this point, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And all I can hope for is you come back and join me for this learning process. Don't laugh at me quite yet. I've got a lot to learn. I'll probably be a little on the slow side for lumber cutting for a while. But once I hit my stride, look out, I'll be throwing lumber off this thing like no tomorrow. Looking forward to that day. Anyways, take a good look. This is where I'm going to be living for a while. That's going to do it for me here today. Hope you enjoyed this little sneak peek. Super glad the sawmill's here. Really glad that spring is en route. And I'm sure hoping one day I won't have to sit out here freezing my extremities off, and I can be out here instead swatting black flies. Spring is coming. See you next time.